Thank you again for tuning back into the I'm Fine podcast, where this is part 2 of I'm Fine Fighting Demons with DMT. Again, we're here with our friend, veteran Chris James, because after he told us his story, what he went through in his life before, during, and after service, the trauma that he'd been through, everything that he dealt with because of that, and then how he found some breakthrough therapy to help him out of that. When he shared that story with us, we knew that we needed to release it in its entirety. But being that it was as long as it ended up being, we wanted to cut it up into 2 episodes. So this is the second part of I'm Fine Fighting Demons with DMT.
Welcome to the I'm Fine podcast with your freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional hosts, Eric Peterson and Brad Stozic.
So you get there, and like you described the place extremely well, it's like you are at a getaway. They are tending to you and constantly checking in on you. Like you said, checking your vitals, very professional, very clean, very amazing. Like everything's getting you into the space that you got to be into.
100%.
The first step was and pronounce it one more time for me.
I'm going to do it wrong, just for the record.
Yeah.
I think. Temazcal.
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 For sure.
Tell me about what that experience was like.
Dude, so...
That's the first thing, right?
Yeah, it is. And and I didn't even know what the fuck that was, because when they sent us our itinerary a few days before we came, all I knew about was Ibagane and 5-MeO DMT. That's what I had vetted. I had done my research. I'm like, the Ibagane, I didn't even think I was more looking forward to the Ibagane than anything, because of the Ibagane's ability to be a neurological reboot of your system, to completely reset certain neurotransmitters that weren't firing. They can reset like dopamine, serotonin levels, a ton of things, which is how a lot of people can come off of alcohol or opiate addiction. So, and all of a sudden this now I can't say it.
Sorry, I have that effect on people.
Sweat Lodge.
Make you dumber.
Sweat Lodge. I see this on paper. I'm like, what in the hell? And so I was like, okay. And they talked about it during the group circle. They said, hey, this is kind of just a way to kind of open yourselves up a little bit, get you a little more comfortable. And so we go to this thing. They loaded us up in the Suburban, they drove out in town, Tijuana somewhere. And it was kind of like, the hut was not in someone's house. It was almost in like their garage. They had this space made in their garage, and it is made out of some kind of clay or whatever. And it's so insanely small that you have to get on your hands and knees to enter it. And from the research I've learned, that's like a humble act of getting on your hands and knees.
Yeah.
To like kind of surrendering yourself, I think.
Right. That's cool.
Going back maybe into the earth kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you go into this small dome, you're sitting, crisscross applesauce on the floor, not wearing a shirt. They give you a bandana to put over. They give you a rattle. And then they had these 2, for lack of better terms, I'll call them a shaman, the medicine healers, these people. They were both, Mexican. And there was a female who's maybe close to my age. I'm 41. She might've been younger. She didn't speak any English, but there was an older man, looked like he was in his 60s, maybe 70s, and he translated everything she said. So there's these stones. I believe they're called these abuelitas, which is translated to grandmothers. They call them grandmothers, and they're heated in this ancient fire, sacred fire, sage put on the stones. They put sage on us before we came in, and then they do it in like these phases, and the phases were to represent the elements of water, wind, and fire. And when they closed off the dome, it's completely pitch black, like big enough black enough that I would not see either of the two of you sitting here at all. No clue where you are. I can see the guy like next to me out of my peripheral. And so they take this steam, and the stones are inside, and they start pouring water on these stones, and it just gets fucking hot. Like, I thought Iraq was hot, man.
Yeah.
I thought wearing a vest with sappy plates, and I thought all this protective, this gaiter that we had to wear around our neck with a Kevlar and like everything, man. I thought that was hot. Like, that's not hot. I mean, that's hot. It's subjective, right? It's subjective.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, holy hell, I was wearing swim trunks and flip flops with a bandana, and I wished I was back in Iraq, man. It was so hot. I remember I went to touch my hair, and when I pressed my hair down to my scalp burned because of how hot my hair was from the steam and the sweat.
Wow.
When like my hair made contact with my scalp, I had to leave my hands off my head because it burned my scalp. That's how hot my hair was. But they do open the doors in between each one. And what she's saying are things in Spanish that he's translating about how wind goes through us and it relates to us, and water goes through us. We are water. And then the last one was fire. And of course they make it the fucking hottest during the fire one.
Yeah.
So they really turn up the heat. And, you know, there's like two things I really got out of there, and I'm like sweating my ass off in this, you know, we're yelling, we're being primitive. They encourage it. So we're like, I don't want to like, all kind of bad, like, you know, I mean, every dude in there, these 7 dudes, primitive screams, were just yelling, getting all this, and you don't even know what you're doing, but like afterwards, you're like, you're releasing something that's inside of you. And what I didn't know is like the healing had kind of started, like it ratted, shook something loose. And I had these 2 feelings that like hit me while I was in there. And one of them is that I had been lying to, kind of go back to your point, I had been lying to a lot of people for a long time to thinking that I was really happy, but the person that I was lying to was myself. And something that the medicine woman's, this shaman woman said that the man translated is that we are the only ones, we are the only ones who can get in touch with our inner warrior, because that's the only person that can cast our demons out and really decide to change the mind. Your mind is that inner demon. Demon is the inner warrior of your own self. So that we had to tap into that. And when I left, man, I felt like free, like I had sweated out something else. And it did relax me, because they said beforehand, like, its job is going to be to relax you and just to kind of put you in more of a peaceful mind. It totally did. It did. But also, it was those 2 kind of like, you know, thoughts that I had when I was in there that like, I didn't even realize that the healing had started, you know, because even when we got back in the van and and we were on the way back to the house, you know, we were all making jokes and did someone fart in there? You know, we're just being dudes, being idiots, you know, we're trying to impress each other with our dumb humor. And when I got back to the house and I started journaling, which was something new. I'd never journaled until I got to the airport in Chicago to fly to Mexico. I had journaled the first word of my life. And when I left Mexico, I had 19 pages of journals. And in this process, I had said, you know, that like, something happened in there. And now that I'm alone and I'm not around other people and I can actually think about my thoughts and try to unpack what I just went through, like something happened. And those were the 2 like kind of profound feelings that I had, is that I was lying to myself for a long time, and I need to get back in touch with my inner warrior. So
what a great way to prepare you for what was going to be next. How long were you in there for, do you think?
I think around an hour and a half, but it could only have been 45 minutes. If somewhere in that window. So we'll just say like an hour 15.
Completely black in between when they're opening the door, like you said.
100% black, pitch black. And so here's how black it is in the Tezmikal. The dude, that was the shaman guy that was translating the woman. All of a sudden I thought it was raining in there, and I felt water hitting me in my, I could feel it on my face, and I looked over and he was standing up dancing, and it was his sweat.
Oh my God.
His sweat was like hitting me in the face. And I'm like, that's how dark it is. Like it took like, I mean, he was from me to this microphone stand closer than that, dancing for about 5 minutes. And I had no idea that he was even doing that until I completely turned and looked at him and saw, oh, I can see legs. Oh, so he's up there. I couldn't even see his face. So yeah, it was nuts.
I want to apply to be a shaman one day. I mean, I know I don't have what it takes now, but man, it seems like the world's coolest fucking job. So the sweat lodge prepares you. You go back to your room for how long before the next step? Approximately.
All right. So when you get back to your room, the first thing they do is they hook you up to a permanent IV port.
Okay.
That stays in there until you leave, day 5.
Right, because you're probably super dehydrated.
Yep.
When
They
you
give
leave
you a bag of fluids.
Right.
That day. That's like, man, again, it wasn't boot camp, but it was like, you're going to do this type of thing.
Yeah.
You sign a ton of waivers, or not only waivers, but a ton of things kind of saying, hey, I agree to all of these things.
Right.
I will do these things.
Right.
I will not take any medicines. I told you that I am going to hand to you, and I wasn't on any medication. But so yeah, we get back to the house, shower. First thing was the IV. And then it was dinner, another fabulous dinner. And then that was it for that day. That day was day 1, and that was the Tesmacol. And I went back to my room, did a lot of journaling, dinner after dinner. I also want to say too that along with the medical staff, along with the chefs, along with everything else, they assign 2 hosts to your house that are there from the time you get there to the time you leave. And in case they ever listen to this podcast, I want to give a humongous shout out to Nikita and Kyle. Fabulous people. Kind of funny story. Kyle, former Navy dude, was EOD in the Navy.
Nice.
And their job is to help hold space for you. Nikita is from Canada, and she kind of got connected with Trevor. Trevor Miller, the guy that co-founded Ambeo Life Sciences, and through her psychedelic journeys, no pun intended, but she got connected with him and then ended up working for Ambeo. And they're there to be a listener. They're there to give you, not give you therapy, but be your therapist if you need one. They're there to listen. They're there to, hey, talk you down from a ledge if you're nervous about whatever activity coming up. But they're there from the time you from the time you wake up till about the time you go to bed. They're there. So they're there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they leave sometime about 8:30 that night. So that evening after dinner, they left, Nikita and Kyle, and eventually I went back up to my bed and got some rest. And day 2 was Ibagane day.
So let's talk about that. What kind of healing were you hoping for? Like you said earlier, you were really looking forward to the Ibagane before you got there. Why was that? What were you hoping for?
Yeah. Great question, man. Because one of the things that's kind of baked into the package of Ambeo is before you ever go, you have 2. They call it, so I'm talking about integration. You have 2 pre-integration, like 1 hour sessions with a certified like coach, like therapist, whatever you want to call them. They're certified. Been to school and stuff. So you have 2 1-hour sessions before you go to Ambeo and 2 1-hour sessions after you come home. The ones when you come home are just around integration. The ones you go before are to help you get mentally prepared to go. And one of the things was, hey, what are your intentions? What are your intentions? And again, the 5-MeO, and I'm saying that short, the full name is 5-MeO DMT, which is 5-methoxy-dimethyltryptamine. So DMT is dimethyltryptamine. And the 5-MeO is the 5-methoxy. From what I understand, it is it's the normal DMT, but with an extra oxygen molecule. I think someone's going to fact check me and be like, that dude's an idiot. But I think that's what it is. It's an extra oxygen molecule, 5-methoxy-dimethyltryptamine. So and if you hear me say 5 or 5-MeO, it's just short for 5-MeO DMT.
Okay.
That wasn't even really on my radar as far as this is what I'm going for. I was going for the Ibagane. And because of its reset for alcohol, I'm like, the Ibagane, what it does is it helps, it essentially can kind of break your, resets your neurotransmitter systems. And so anything like have affected, like back, whether they were like things from trauma from childhood or in your subconscious or foreconscious, it can help before there was ever a problem. People with mood disorders, and I actually, I want to stop for a second. And because I said mood disorders, I do want to say, and this is probably I should have said this going into it, but to the audience, anybody out there listening or watching, please take these kind of psychedelics seriously, because people that have any type of serious psychotic disorder like schizophrenia, or any of the other or disorder like that, they can be extremely, extremely upsetting, and I mean, can do a lot of harm if you're untreated or undiagnosed. So I can't be clear enough about that you have to understand what you have before you just go down there and just dabble with Ibogaine, because it is an extremely powerful medicine. So my intentions, because I thankfully I wasn't suffering from any of those things. I was hoping that alcohol was like number one on my bucket list, alcohol. Yeah. And then I had intentions that I made. It was to forgive my mom. I haven't had a relationship with my dad in over 10 years. Surprise, surprise, I ended up having to go see a counselor or went to go see a counselor and took it upon myself to go see one. And this guy, William, if you're out there, you're listening to this, dude, I love you, man. You helped change my life. And the fact that he told me the words I needed to hear, that it's okay to step away from your dad, even if he's your dad. If he's that toxic of a thing to you, that so I haven't had a relationship with him in well over 10 years. So I had never forgiven him, but I was 100% at peace. And I can say that even after Mexico, I was at peace with not being in a relationship with my dad. I was in a cyclone of emotions because of being in love with my kids, and then seeing how could you know what I mean, back to that thing. So I wanted to forgive my mom. I wanted to be able to love myself. I had that feeling of self-love. I've never known what that was like. I wanted to feel like I was good enough for my wife and my kids. I wanted to be able to actually grieve the loss of MJ, the one that died in 2019, and Aaron, the two best men in my wedding. I wanted to process their grief in a positive way and not just hold that inside and then just with everything else, it compounded. And I had all of these intentions. So I had them going in, and that was like my main thing for Ibagane. I was looking forward to this reset. I'm like, I brought pictures of MJ and pictures of Aaron, a shitload of pictures of my family, my wife and my kids, my intent, my reason, my why, or my wife and my 3 children. Those were my why going to Mexico. And I brought them with me so I could take them to the Ibagane ceremony. Those were like my intentions, dude. I was hoping to like reset the whole alcohol thing. I'm like, all the research I've seen, man, Ibagane's going to be able to just like a dry erase board. And matter of fact, there's a great analogy of what Ibagane actually does to the mind. So from the time you're born, when you're an infant, I want you to imagine, for those of you that are out there, like if you could close your eyes and imagine your mind as a hill covered in snow, a fresh sheet of snow. It's perfect. And at one point, when you're a kid, you're maybe given some food that you don't like. And that registers something in your brain. Hey, this tastes weird. There's a face. Or when dad smiles, I smile. And all those little things, you're cutting grooves into that hill. I don't like peas, and I like my dad. And then you get older, and man, I really like the movie Moana, and I like, Tangled and Frozen. And man, I really like, I'm a big Georgia football fan, and I love the Marine Corps, and I love deer hunting, bow hunting, and I love all these things. And eventually beer was carved into that hill, and because of the trauma. And so all these grooves that are in the snow make it freaking impossible, almost impossible. That's why diet is so damn hard. It's so hard because people want to revert back to what they're doing. Those grooves, those are their normals that they know. They feel good. Those are the things that they've been accustomed to. Yep. That's what feels right. Those are the grooves. Try in a hill covered with grooves of snow. Try getting your own fresh. No, your sled's going to get sucked back into the groove that's already there. So. And what Ibagane does, the great analogy, it completely wipes every single groove completely off. And you have the path to say, I want to go over here, or I want to go over there, or I want to try this, or I want to try that. It's like you were never, and that was explained to me on a Joe Rogan podcast. And the guy that said it was like, this is the best analogy he's heard. So I'm just kind of passing the buck a little bit.
Such a great analogy. I love that analogy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that for me. And to go back to when I was bawling my eyes out, when I got the news that, April 16th was my day, I think that's just kind of goes to show how ready I was.
Yeah.
And how submissive I was. So the medicine met me where I was at. And, obviously I had a hell of an experience while I was there, but I put in the work before I went to.
Oh, absolutely. So what was the Ibagane like?
Okay, so Ibagane, and I do want to say, Ibagane comes from a plant, a root plant that I believe it's the Tabernath Iboga. Iboga is a plant in Central West Africa, used by the locals there. And it is they take the root of the plant, so they uproot the plant and they take the root and they grind it. And I don't know how. Eventually a person realized, hey, this stuff that they've been using ceremonially for like rites of passage, into manhood or whatever, whatever they've been using it for. And I don't want to say whatever. I don't want to
right.
Yeah.
Discount it.
100%. What they've been using it for, how someone found that it can be something that we can use here. So it gained traction for opiate addiction, heroin. It was curing heroin. People weren't going through withdrawals after completely going clean off of heroin that next day. And then then Marcus Capone went and did it. And then all of a sudden, he's not, then Sean Ryan, and he hasn't touched alcohol. And I'm listening to all these other testimonials of these dudes. And the one common denominator I kept seeing was alcohol. I don't want alcohol anymore. I'm like, if anything, if I could fucking just please change that. So, the Ibogaine is grounded up and it's encapsulated. So it looks like you're just taking a little multivitamin capsule, same size. And you take the first one at 8:30 p.m. And before you take the first one, you stand around a fire. And this fire is very metaphorical. It stands for something. It means something. And they tell you to take what you want to get rid of, what no longer serves you anymore, what you don't want to serve you, to write on that paper and to throw it into that fire. And that's kind of like really your first act of submission. For me, it was, not speaking on behalf of everybody else. Like, that's you relinquishing power and you're giving some intent. This is what I don't want to serve me anymore, what I want to let go of. And it was my trauma, my childhood, my the shame from my Marine Corps discharge. I wanted to let go of that. And the grip that alcohol had around my fucking throat for so long, I wanted to let go of. And, you do that around the fire. And as soon as the fire ceremony is done, you take pill number 1 at 8:30. And an hour later, you take pill number 2 at 9:30. And 15 minutes later, you take pill number 3 at 9:45. And you take pill number 4, 15 minutes after that at 10:30. So you take 4 pills over the course of a couple hours, and you lay on this bed. It's a mattress. It's got a very decorative. Everything is for a purpose, just like the food they serve you.
Right.
Everything's for a purpose. You're on this mattress. It's got this like Aztec looking sheet cover, very cool looking. You got a mirror that's in front of you, which I was not excited about because for about the last 2 years, I would avoid looking at myself in the mirror at all times. I couldn't stand the sight of me. I was just disgusted. And you had a rattle. The rattle was back.
Nice.
To rattle, and you had some other stuff. And I put down the pictures of my kids. And you're hooked up to a heart monitor. And Ibogaine can be very dangerous for people that have liver and kidney issues. That's why they have you do blood work to make sure you have your liver and your kidneys are healthy. And you got 5 leads hooked up to your chest to a full blown heart monitor like you would see in the hospital with all the lines beeping and things doing their thing and dancing. And there's a famous, I don't remember the artist's name. There's a famous painting of Marilyn Monroe where she looks like neon colors. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I can't remember the artist.
Andy
name.
Warhol?
That's the dude.
Yeah.
That's the dude.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to the Sean Ryan podcast, and he said he was in front of the mirror, and one of the first things he noticed was a couple of things. One where he saw black tears, he saw his head split open, and so again, they said another important thing I want to say to those listening is no experience is a normal experience. There's no such thing as a normal experience. at all. Everyone has their own thing. So I wasn't expecting to see what Sean Ryan saw, but I'm looking in the mirror like, okay, let me see if I feel something, hear something. And all of a sudden I saw my face change these like shades of neon in the mirror. And I'm like, here we go. So I threw on my eye mask and I laid back and they play this music. It's called Bwiti music, which is spelled B-W-I-T-I, Bwiti. And the Bwiti people, it's a kind of like not a culture, more of a religion, Bwiti. Those are the people that do the Ibagane, or not do the Ibagane, but take the Ibagane for spiritual, ceremonial, that type of thing. It's like what peyote would be for Native Americans.
Right.
It's kind of a comparison. So they put on this Bwiti music, which is not super pleasant to listen to, but it's not a completely off-putting. It's not, it's very Spotify. Look up Spotify, type in Bwiti ceremony music and
like guttural, like chants, or like what are we talking here?
Sure. Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's
undescribable.
Yeah. It's weird. But it's part of the experience. So it's also beautiful at the same time because you're listening to this, like this is what these people listen to when they're, for whatever reason, they're doing their ceremony. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like you feel like a fucking badass. Like, yeah, this is it. And leading up to that point, I was not nervous at all. Not even, I thought something was wrong with me. Like I was gaslighting myself. I'm like, I got to be fucked up. Nothing's wrong with me. Why don't I feel nervous? Not even a little bit. And so either way, eye mask is on, seeing the weird things. And in the first I saw some colors. It's like these stars and stuff. And that's not really part of it doesn't really measure up to the experience. The first thing I remember seeing, and I don't remember what time this was, but the first thing I remember was all these like demons, like dead people, things that were trying to hurt me and kill me with knives, machetes. Like things you would see in horror movies. Like ghoul, like missing eyeballs and like their skull coming off. And dude, like 41-year-old Marine dude, like had to take off my eye shades, my blackout mask because like it's scaring me that bad.
For sure.
One thing I do want to explain about Ibagane, you're extremely lucid, which is the crazy thing about that drug. Very lucid. When I mean very lucid, like it enables your disability a little bit. It kind of throws off your motor, like trying to walk. So they have you walk with like someone else if you got to go to the restroom or pee. Otherwise you're laying down. You take it at 8:30 p.m. Some people might be asking why. It's a very long lasting experience. Can last anywhere between like 6 all the way up to like 24 hours.
Okay.
So they start at night and for reasons of everything's blacked out in the room to begin with. So if you do take your eye mask off, it's very pitch black. While we did the Ibagane, I also want to say they brought in a doctor, a nurse practitioner, and 4 RNs, 4 registered nurses. That's 6 medical staff, and there was only 7 of us there. So it was almost a 1-to-1 ratio. So everyone's hooked up to leads. They take it extremely seriously. So.
And you're going from seeing these demons and zombies and all this other crazy shit to like the doctor and the nurse staff, and like you're lucid.
100%, dude. Because if you were to say, if I was wearing my Apple Watch, which I have pictures of my wife and kids, I'd be able to, hey, there's Charlotte. That was last October. I would be able to talk to you just like that.
Okay.
What Ibagane's doing, and they say that even when you don't think it's working in your brain. It's doing its magic. It's resetting these neurotransmitters. It's excavating. It's doing its stuff. So, I'm seeing these demons, and then all of a sudden, like I saw my kids like hurting themselves, with like knives, like trying to kill each other and hurt each other. You know, first they were baseball bats they were trying to hit each other with, and then they turned to knives and stuff. And then, and man, it, like part of me was thinking that maybe the medicine, not that was betraying me, was like maybe playing a trick on me. Cause
terrifying.
I just, after I'm seeing like dead people and they didn't, I put my mask back on and within some time they'd come right back. And then I take my mask off and they'd kind of come back. Wow. And then I saw my children trying to hurt themselves. Like it was, the Ibagane was a very unpleasant experience. It was not fun at all. And it lasted over 12 hours, for me personally, over 12 hours. So.
Holy shit. And how were you able to not, because, and I'm listening to this from the perspective of somebody who's only familiar with like psilocybin, LSD, those types of things, as far as like how people act when they're on them. How was it you weren't able, like you didn't just really freak out, have a come apart? Because I feel like based on the things that you're saying that you were confronting, and then knowing that you are on a substance of some kind, I have to imagine the anxiety, the fear, all of that stuff is there. How were you able to not spin out while being confronted with like arguably some of the most worst things you could be confronted with?
Yeah. That's a good question. I'm going to have to give a lot of that credit to Ambeo and some also credit to myself. Man, they do such a good job at prepping you and letting you know, like you fast that evening for dinner. You don't have dinner before your Ibagane ceremony, and you have an early lunch. And we had lunch with this guy named Isaac, and his job was just to come sit and have lunch with you. And he was the one that gave you the medicine. He was a nurse practitioner, I believe, or maybe I think he was a nurse practitioner. So either way, but he was the medicine man, and he treated over 1,000 people, giving them Ibagane. So he knows the good, the bad, the ugly. And he was letting us know, he told you ahead of time that there's no such thing as a normal experience. He said the first time that he did it, he said it was horrible. Demons saw, a bunch of rough shit.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of prepped. I'm also going to give some of the work to myself because I listened to podcasts and I knew that was also, I'm not going to call it a normal thing, but that was something that what other people had experiences. I mean, Sean Ryan saw his head split into two, saw black tears coming down his face. He saw some darker stuff as well,
Yeah.
And there was other podcasts of other dudes. What's that Marine Medal of Honor winner?
Kyle Carpenter.
Recipient. Kyle Carpenter.
Kyle Carpenter.
No, not Kyle Carpenter.
Dakota Meyer.
Dakota Meyer.
Yeah, he was on he was on Rogan talking about his Ibagane experience, and he fucking hated it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to share his story, but
right.
Go ahead.
No, I just said right.
Yeah. So I knew, like I had done my homework and I had mentally prepared myself before I ever went in that I may not enjoy. I even journaled in it before I even took the first pill. I may not enjoy tonight, but no matter what I do, I have to understand that it's part of the experience. Yeah. I have to trust the medicine. I have to trust the process. I have to let go of anything of control, of fear. I have to just trust that it's part of the process. No matter what happens, if it's good or if it's bad, I have to understand that there's a meaning behind it. There's beauty in the pain, that there's something that the medicine is trying to show me. I just have to be willing to open my heart enough to be able to receive that. And that's, so when those things happened, I wasn't in the right headspace to try to understand what it meant. I'm just like, fuck this, took my eye mask off, put it back on. There it is again. But I do want to say that there was one immensely beautiful part of that experience where I got the visions. I experienced all three of my children during their birth as they were coming out of the womb. I can't really, there's not a dictionary out there that could help me really articulate what it was like hearing their heartbeats and seeing their umbilical cord and them coming out of the womb, every one of them. And the only unfortunate part about that is I feel like it only took about 3 minutes of the trip.
Yeah.
Everything else was shit.
Demons, zombies, a little bit of my kids being born, which was cool. Then back to demons and zombies. Yep.
There was a lot of puking.
It's called real puking,
purging.
Not visions of it.
Yep. Purge. They call it purging. I purged about 6 to 7 times that evening. So
how long was your Ibagane experience? You said it could vary.
Yeah. So Ibagane, first pill was 8:30 at night.
Right.
They told you, even if you're stone cold sober, 8:30 a.m., 12 hours later, we are going to give you 2 bags of IV fluids. Even if you feel like you're ready for them 5 hours before then, you're going to wait until 8:30 a.m. and we're going to give you 2 bags of IV fluids. At that point, if you're ready to go back to your room, you can. I stayed for a little bit longer. I still feel like I was experiencing some of the nausea. And I was still coming off. So I was about 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock, and I went back to my room. And then I stayed there for the rest of the day. So Ibagane, Tesmacol was day 1. Ibagane's day 2. Day 3, they call that gray day. It's not quite black. It's not quite white. It's gray. Mm-hmm. And it's the perfect description for it. It's nausea the entire day. Threw up once more when I got back to my room, and then I didn't throw up after that. Ended up having to get a bag of anti-nausea fluids because I was they hadn't subsided, my nausea. And it was like that evening, they finally gave me some medicine. That day sucked. And that's funny because Isaac, the medicine guy, when we were having lunch with him the day before, when he was giving us the entire lowdown of Ibogaine and the experience before, after, grade A, everything, he said, expect grade A to be the worst day of your life. Because if it's not, then hey, that's great. Then you know what? You're on the up and up. But if it does suck more than any other day you've ever had, then hey, then you kind of prepared for it. I don't know if I would say it was the worst day, man, but it sucked. I mean, a pretty big amount. And because you're nauseous, but at the same time too, and you don't sleep. I haven't slept yet. The Ibogaine, there's no sleeping at all. Not even trying. There's no way you could sleep. From time 8:30 p.m. the next morning, and then that next day there's still no sleep. So you're just laying there in bed, kind of nauseous, or my case, very nauseous. And some people weren't that nauseous. Not everyone has it. There's no normal experience. So, and you're just thinking about, and I think the best thing I did was give myself the space to actually unpack everything that had just happened. I didn't journal. I couldn't journal. I was too nauseous to pick up a pen. But I just laid there in bed for that entire day, all day long, and just thought about, what was it trying to show me? I'm like, I have to open my eyes. I have to open my heart. I have to just submit yourself, Chris, submit yourself. Just what it's there. It's there. And then this came to me, that, Ibogaine doesn't show you anything new. It just holds up a mirror to like what you already have inside of you. And dude, I've obviously was a pretty tormented person inside. And it was just kind of showing me that. And the two hosts in the house, they have kind of a very interesting, concepts on things. And because they've seen so many people, it's kind of like going to see a psychiatrist and say, hey, I had this dream last night. What did it mean? They can help you unpack your journey and nice. what it means based off of your personal experience. And they they were just showing you what you already had inside of you. And like, most likely it was purging that from your body. It was showing you everything that was inside of you to purge it from within you.
Right.
And I'm like, even if that's not true, I'm like, that just feels so good to hear that, cause I'm like, man, why did I have to see the things that I saw? And we could save it for another conversation another time. But even when I came back, my integration coach, that 1 hour coach, when I came back from Mexico, she unpacked the kids thing. Well, why did I see my kids hurting myself? And that made so much sense when she kind of spelled that out for me. So, and then she reiterated what Kyle and Nikita had told me, that was just the Ibogaine, most likely like just showing you your demons and then purging it from within you. And man, it just felt good. And and I do want to say that the Ibogaine, I was hoping MJ was going to come into my journey, my kids, my wife, other than that brief moment of, nirvana when I saw them coming out of the womb. Never experienced them again. They were hurting themselves. That was jacked up. Didn't see my buddy Aaron that passed away. Not all these things I was hoping to see. All these, I didn't have any things about because you could ask the medicine questions. Not that it's going to answer, but they tell you, hey, why are you showing me demons? What does this mean? Because they tell you can ask the medicine questions and it may not answer. And you can also ask your own questions. Ibogaine, show me why alcohol has such a control on me. Please explain why, help me see, I never thought to ask, but alcohol never came into the picture. Nothing.
Wow.
I didn't get like anything from any of the stuff of my intentions. I felt like no boxes were really checked, or so I thought,
Yeah.
on grade A. And so grade A passed. And then the next day was the 5-MeO DMT day. And that was day 4. So,
okay. So day 4, you've done the sweat lodge. You did the Ibogaine. You had the gray day. Feeling like shit. How did that lead you into 5-MeO DMT into day 4? Like, what was that experience like?
That was good. And that was during grade A, they had something called Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
And Reiki, I won't get into it. So if you don't know what, look it up. I think it's REIK. eye,
I think so. Yeah, that's
something like that.
yeah.
Reiki, and it's they call it kind of it can be a touchless massage, kind of energy withdrawal, transfer of energy type of thing. Again, I probably saying that way wrong, but I went to a Reiki session, and at the end of the session, this Reiki lady spoke to me, and she's like, "Chris, I want you to look at me." So I took my washcloth off my eyes, and she's like, if you want to find true happiness, you need to start loving yourself. You have to change your attitude and start loving yourself. And I don't know how. All I said was hello to her when I walked in. They didn't give her. They didn't give her my rap sheet. She has no clue who I am. She just has a list of names of the 7 dudes that she's gonna massage or whatever. Through the thing, and that's it. And I even asked Kyle and Nikita afterwards. I'm like, no, we don't. We're not like. There's no smoke and mirrors here. We don't give her any information on you. Whatever she says to you is just personal between you and her. And then she also said that you need to get in touch with your inner child because your inner child's broken. And I'm like, and so I just started crying. While I'm laying down on this table, like just the tears were coming down my face.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Can I hug you?" I said, "Yeah." So I stood up, and then she gives me this hug. And I like to think of myself as a pretty good hugger. Me and my sisters, we're like strong huggers.
You're a phenomenal hugger.
I appreciate it.
Well,
And but she out hugged me, man. I tried letting go a couple of times, and then she said something I'll never forget, man. She said, this lady's name is Berta, and she said, if when you leave Ambeo and you ever go back home, if you ever feel alone, she's like, I want you to remember this hug. And dude, that if she ever knew how many times I've ever felt alone,
yeah,
that's something that I've talked to my sister Jessica in Georgia about so many different times. That Jess, I just feel so alone with everything because I don't feel like Maggie understands what it's like to lose someone, your best friend, your everything, your rock, to lose this person, to notice, you got barred from the one organization that gave you the Marine Corps and all these things and the trauma from my childhood. I just feel so alone, like no one can really empathize with what I'm going through and the fact that she said that. So now fast forward, I have this like hope going into this DMT that I never had before. Before it was all about the Ibagane going into the 5-MeO DMT. I'm sorry, going into Mexico, it was all about the Ibagane. And with that Reiki session, it completely like shifted my perspective for the 5-MeO. And I thought about the Ibagane and the Ibagane didn't really give me any type of answers for MJ or Aaron or the alcohol thing. Am I still going to want alcohol? I'm like, 'cause that's what its job was, to reset all these things in my head. And I won't know until I get home. So that's still a mystery, to be explained. So let's see what happens with the 5-MeO. I wasn't really having a lot of expectations for that, but let's see what happens. And, so 5-MeO, as you said in the description, it comes from the Bufo avarius, the Sonoran desert toad or Colorado river frog. And it has these, glands that it excretes the venom. What I smoked was not the venom. It was a synthetic version that's made in a lab, which for two reasons. One, it really controls the accuracy of what you're smoking, the amount, the potency, and it also helps with, the over harvesting of the frog in order to get the venom so it's more humane. So they worked on this big, breath technique. You got to inhale and then exhale and practice letting go, surrendering to the experience. And they said, if you have the chance to do it twice if you want. It's a very short experience. It can be anywhere between 5 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe up to an hour. On rare cases, it can go up to an hour, but it's generally around like 15 to 20 minutes long.
Okay.
Maybe a half an hour. That's like a very average. So they said that, all right, we're going to let you do it twice if you want to do it twice. If you don't get enough out of the first one, if you don't have they call it a breakthrough, which I'm wearing the shirt that says breakthrough is kind of a constant reminder. If you don't have the breakthrough experience that you want, you can do it twice. So, you go back up to the medicine room where you did the Ibogaine. You're sitting on this mat. And they put on this really soft music. It's, I don't know how to explain. It's like what you would listen to when you're getting a massage, maybe. And Kyle, the Navy dude, the guy that was my host, my dude while I was there, he was my medicine man. I was so pumped about that, man. And I have such a bond for this guy because of just that the fact that he gave me the medicine. So he puts looks like these little granular pieces, into a pipe, and he heats up the bottom of a pipe with like a torch, to vaporize everything, get vapor, smoke. And then he tells you to inhale. He has exhale until your lungs are empty. Then as soon as you get to the exhale, he brings the pipe to your mouth. And he says, inhale. Inhale. And he's inhale. He says, hold. And then he counts back from 10. He puts the eye mask over your head and he has you lay back. And then as soon as my head hit the pillow, like I was gone. I don't know where I was, but I just saw these fractals of images, geometric kind of patterns that don't really make sense. They weren't organized, but they were organized. There was like a white light and there was a shitload of anxiety at the beginning. And I could feel this like beyond area that I wanted to get to. And then they told us, you have to release yourself. You have to submit to the experience to have really like a breakthrough experience. And I crawled back inside that fear, man. And I was like, no way. I don't want to do it. I'm too scared. I can't, and then before I know it, man, even in the place that I was at was beyond words, was so beautiful. The visuals, the feelings of like, this euphoric, this nirvana type of thing. And then all of a sudden, I could feel myself kind of like if you were like coming from a real deep underwater, surfacing again, kind of sober back up. And I didn't even take my eye mask off. I was completely laying down at that point, head on the pillow, and I knew that I was back. And then something happened. I don't know what it was, but I had this profound sense of, like readiness, submission.
Yeah.
And without even taking my eye mask off, I said, I'm ready for the second dose. He said, okay. So he started heating up the pipe. He said, go ahead and sit up whenever you're ready. And, I sat up and same thing as first time, man. He piped to my mouth, inhale, exhale, pipe to your mouth and inhale. And then he started counting back from 10. And dude, I didn't even make it to 5 before I was strapped to a fucking cosmic rocket. And like shot through the center of everything.
When you say the center of everything, what do you mean?
So when I journaled my 5-MeO DMT experience, I broke it down into 5 parts. There's not 5 parts for every experience. I just didn't know how to like articulate it. Because when I journaled this, it was like within 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half after I was done, everything was I was sharp as a tack. I was fresh.
Yeah.
And my memory was something that had never been. And I think that was because of the Ibagane. Like I could remember the exact words that Berta said, almost word for word. And even though I didn't journal it all on Gray Day, the next day when I started journaling, I was able to remember everything she said. And I attest that obviously to the Ibagane now, but so either way,
the center of everything. You said it shot you through the center of everything.
Oh yeah, the 5 parts. So I kind of broke it down into 5 parts. So it'd be like if you were like duct tape or strapped to like one of like Elon Musk's freaking rockets, and you're gone, and the thing shoots so fast. So fast,
dude.
But he's cutting back from 10, and it wasn't to 5.
Right.
And my head hit the pillow, and I hadn't taken my eye mask off. And I always say, we'll skip past the experience. He said so when he gives everybody, so I want to say this for the record so people can understand maybe why I had such a profound second experience before I get there. He told me that while everyone is going through the first experience, he loads the pipe up with the second one in case they want a second dose. So it's ready. He doesn't vaporize it yet, but he has it ready. And he said also, you did something that was you might not have known it was a smart move, but you never took your eye mask off. So it really allowed me to stay in the moment. Oh. Even when I sat up, it never came off. Everything was pitch black.
Yeah.
And he said also too, because you did it so back to back, like a lot of people, they want to talk about the first experience and then they go back in for the second one. He's like, you didn't even sit up. He's like, and a lot of that.
Let's fucking go.
He said a lot of that, you had some residual from the first dose. So a lot of A, he had it ready. B, I had residual still in me. And C, I hadn't taken my eye mask off. So I was still somewhat tripping from the first one when I took the second one. And then boom, you're gone. And then so the 5 parts, the first thing was the anxiety came back instantly. And it was fear. It wasn't as strong as the first one. The first one was just about a fear of like, it was like a death. I was afraid of dying because I've heard of this, they call it like ego dissolution or ego death.
You're right. Right.
When you go to this and it feels like you're dying. So I'll get to that. So the first thing I felt was anxiety. And then all of a sudden I don't know how it happened, but like I willed myself to continue and it was effortless. Like I embraced whatever was happening. And then it was just like, this thing was lifted off me. And then all of a sudden, so I want to rewind a little bit. And they said that before I did the Ibogaine, they said that these strong plant medicines have the potential to heal the trauma from 7 generations before you and 7 generations after you.
That's fucking wild. Like that's profound to me too. You know what I mean? For them.
And that's, it's hard to understand what that,
very hard.
What that even means. Like,
yes.
You know, okay. So you're saying my dad doesn't have trauma anymore because how does this like, and I'm not going to get into it. I challenge everyone to look into that, please, that statement, just for time space. So when they told me that, I completely forgot it. Put it out of my mind, didn't journal. And I had journaled like 19 pages, didn't journal that at all. Hadn't thought about it. So there was no manifestation of this thought or anything, but all of a sudden I'm out to this anxiety. I'm in this like euphoric place where I just feel like I'm one with everything. All of a sudden I get hit with this 7 generations thing and it fucking hits me out of nowhere. I mean, like a slap to the head from behind. And I remember seeing these old people that I don't know and young people that I don't know. And then all of a sudden I see my dad. And then I see my mom. And then it's just like, the only way I can really, if someone wants to imagine what it looks like, if you've seen the first the real Wizard of Oz way back when, well, because they've had remakes.
Like The Wiz.
The OG Wizard of Oz. When Dorothy's inside her house and they're inside the tornado and you see all this shit spinning around. There's the Wicked Witch, there's the rooster, there's Annie M or what her name is, and you know, all these whatever. It's just like these people just like a vortex of energy and these molecules of whatever form that they were in, but I could see faces and things and they were just zooming by me. And then I felt my dad and my mom and then they were there. And then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, and I felt this thing that I had no clue, that I had no clue that I was even carrying. And it just felt like this anchor that was attached to my heart was released. And I forgave my dad and my mom for everything that had happened. And I felt this forgiveness come over me for everything that I had been through, as a kid. And the weight that I didn't even know that was even there, man. Like I had no idea. That's why I drank as much as I did and all these, I just felt it release. And then they left. And then all of a sudden I saw my wife and my 3 children at the ages they are now, 3, 5, and 6. And they were laughing and having a good time. And then all of a sudden they left. And then all of a sudden they came back. And except for they were grown adults and they were holding children of their own. I don't know if they're going to have kids, obviously I don't know, but I got to see my children as adults holding their own babies. And then I saw more people that I didn't recognize. And then I realized that it was the 7 generations thing.
Yeah.
And to kind of skip forward after the journey, we'll come back to it for a second. It's like casting a stone in a still body of water and just seeing all the ripples completely go out and out and out. And you realize that the change that you're making is a linear change in both directions, into the past, but more importantly, into the future. Because my children are going to have to walk their own storms one day, but they don't have to walk through my storms. You know what I mean? They don't have to experience the things that I've had to experience. because dad's jacked up and, dad put him in the place, it's, I can show up and be a better version of myself for them. And because of that, they're going to have a better life. And because of that, they're going to inherit love and acceptance, love without silence and without shame, without all these things. They're going to know what that's like. And so forth. They get to give that to their children and their children. And that kind of goes into a little bit about the 7 generations forward. So, as soon as they they left me,
That's deep, dude.
Oh man.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like when you were telling me, and I don't mean to fucking derail you, dude, but when you were in my garage that night, sharing your notes and everything and telling me about all this stuff, there were several moments where I just needed to take a sec and just like digest what you were saying to me, man.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know how to describe how it would feel to see into the future of potentially of your children as grown adults holding their children, and to understand how you have again worked and done something that has affected the 7 generations before you, 7 generations after you. Like, I don't know how to quantify that, like how that would feel, like, you know what I mean? But oh my God. And the way you've described everything, just very good at describing everything you were going through, I think, for somebody like myself who's not familiar with that. So I just sometimes I just had to take, like, I don't know how to say it, like almost a break just to process the heavy shit that you are talking about. Anyway, I apologize.
No
Please
apology,
continue.
man.
What fucking stage are we on, by the way? Like, is this still stage 1?
Stage 2.
Holy shit. All right. This is going to be a 2-part episode, by the way.
I think so.
I was thinking about it earlier. We're going to just make this a 2-part episode.
I think so.
So that was stage 2. Okay. What's stage 3?
So I saw, when I saw my children holding their children, and they were all happy. And it was the weirdest thing, because it was like, I don't expect all of them to have children at the same time, but Wyatt, Charlotte, and Nora were all grown adults, and they had their babies, and their babies were happy, and I could just feel this positive energy there. And then all of a sudden they left, saw people didn't recognize, and then they left. And then the anxiety came back and got very heavy. And as soon as it happened, I knew exactly what was getting ready to happen. And this is such a tough part to explain. Because the next thing that I felt it before it actually happened, was that I was going to die. And dude, not that there was any ounce of sobriety in it. So hard to explain. Not that there's any ounce of sobriety in me at this point. Like, I couldn't have taken my eye mask off and knocked out a couple of burpees. Like, there's no fucking way. That's not happening.
Right.
So I got to explain that.
Right.
But I had this feeling that Kyle, my medicine man, gave me too much, and I just overdosed. That's how convinced I was that I was dying. Like, I was dying. I remember thinking about my wife and my kids, and then I'm not going to see them again. And then I remember, like, okay, they're in a good place. I got life insurance. What shit? I don't think it covers this. It's my life insurance. I'm pretty sure that is one of the things that, is like, nope, you're doing psychedelics. You died overdose on psychedelics. You don't get life insurance, Chris. I remember having that thought within like a millisecond of a window that Kyle gave me too much. And then all of a sudden, and I want to say for the record, I was an agnostic as far as religious beliefs before I went. I'm still an agnostic now. So the next part I'm going to explain, I'm not trying to say that there's any kind of afterlife or anything like that. This is just what I went through.
Right.
But as soon as all that fear and anxiety left, and I was dying, thought that I was dying. It was the most beautiful and peaceful feeling that I'd ever had in my entire life. So much overwhelming beauty that it was okay if I never saw my wife and my kids again. That's how, and it's hard to say out loud, because every bit of my identity is wrapped around who they are. I mean, that they were my wife or going there, that's why I was in so much of a turmoil before I went, because I was so obsessed with being a good dad, and I got shit on when I was a kid, and I can't believe that happened, and that someone would do that to a precious life like a child, and that's how much I was obsessed and loved over my kids, and obsessed over being a good, rewriting history. So with that said, that's how insanely beautiful this place was. I became everything and I became nothing. I was like connected with everything that had come before me and everything that would come after me. I wasn't breathing because I wasn't me. I mean, I experienced what oneness was like, and I just couldn't believe the amount of peace and beauty that was in that space, wherever I was at, could exist. And that's why I'm like, if I'm here, and that's okay. Like, not that I don't want to see my wife and kids again, but I'm okay if I never have to come back, because where I'm at right now, it's just hard to explain, man.
This is stage 3.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
So
where did it go from there?
Okay. So the death thing happened.
The ego death.
Yeah. Dissolution.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not going to preach on this, but there's a lot of people that say that there's no such thing as an ego death. That became, I think, like a term that people started using.
Okay.
Ego death, but there's no such thing as the ego death, because a lot of people say that your ego never really dies. It never really dies. It can dissolve.
Okay.
Minimize. I'm not sure, but yeah, you want to call it a death, man, for sure. Something died.
Right.
Whatever. And one thing I made clear in my intentions that I wanted to love myself. I never knew, how that would be. And the one thing that I was so upset about from all along is that the way that I loved my kids so unconditionally with every ounce of everything I have, how come I couldn't be loved like that by my parents? How come my dad and my mom couldn't have loved me like that? I'm like, if I could go back in time and love that little kid the way that I love my 3, he'd fix himself. Like Michael J. Fox, Doc, let's go. Let's jump in the car.
Yep.
Let's go back in time and send me back there. I'm going to have a long talk with that dude. And I'm going to say, hey man, so I just had this experience of death, and I didn't even know that he was going to show up. I didn't think that he was, because like I said, the Ibogaine was the fucking ticket for me the whole time. I thought the Ibogaine was going to be everything in the 5-MeO. I've done a ton of research, man. It's like a spiritual reset people's spirits, the ego death. And, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to experience, that's where I'm going to see Aaron and Martha in, I even journaled that before the 5-MeO experience. I'm like, I'm probably going to see, I'm hoping, I didn't see them in Ibagane. I'm really hoping to get some closure with them in the 5-MeO. But then all of a sudden I'm in this place where I thought that I was dead. And I look over my left shoulder, or I don't have a shoulder. I whatever, the vision was in my peripheral, and I saw my 2-year-old self, sitting on the floor, looking up at me, like with eyes that like hadn't learned to flinch. You know what I mean? He hadn't experienced any type of hurt yet. And he was smiling. I remember my hair, super blonde, blue eyes, big smile on his face. And I don't even think that I intended to do it, but all of a sudden I like knelt down beside him, and then him and I became like the same energy. And I got a chance to, tell myself that I'm enough, and that I matter, that I'm not broken, um, that, all the things that I want to tell, because I give my kids, affirmations every day of their life. Um, Certain things I tell them. So there's 3 or 4 things that are repetitive, so they hear dad say it. But I got to give him those affirmations, and I got to give him the love that I gave my children. And what I didn't realize that I was doing was giving myself that love.
Yeah.
And then that was 4, and then the 5th kind of the phase was like waking back up. And as I was waking back up, I was hit with this insane. This is probably the hardest part to, right, because I thought I was dead. And the first thing I remember having a sober thought about was like, I get to see my wife and my kids again. Like, I'm not fucking dead. That was just a journey. That was just a trip. Like, I'm still alive. Like, and then I had this insane wave of gratitude. So I experienced like the 7 generations thing. And then I experienced like comfort and peace and oneness. And then I experienced like self-love. And then I experienced just being grateful for being alive. And then I came back to, and obviously, man, I had a few tears coming down my face. I instantly sat up and hugged Kyle and, said, love you, man. And hugged him. And all he did was give me the medicine. But like, to me, it was like so much more than that, because it was something I've been waiting for my entire life. And that was to, actually drop the guilt and the shame, look myself in the eyes and tell myself how much that I love myself, and I'm worth saving, and I'm worth being alive, and I'm worth love of my family. And yeah, man, that was it. Not trying to steamroll this thing.
That was it. That was it.
Well, I'm saying that was day 4.
That's it. Remember the zombies? That was fucking forever ago. Like, holy shit, man. We went from the Shire to fucking Mordor.
Yep.
Like, all right, that was it.
To the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, man.
And that's all.
I don't know how to put into words how I felt the first time you shared that experience with me, but the closest thing that I could think of was Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey. Are you familiar with that? It's essential. There are a few really popular works, the Harry Potter series, Lord of the Rings, other stories like that follow this journey, the journey of the hero. And it's like 12 steps. I don't remember them all, and I'm probably going to fuck it up, but like it involves going down to like the abyss of who you are, confronting the worst aspects of yourself, and then like the rebirth, essentially. And like when you just explain like the levels that you went through, the layers of yourself that you peeled back to get to what you needed to get to. And I told you this that night too. The amount of veterans that I've worked with on the crisis side that have dealt with alcohol issues, heroin issues, drugs, mental health, whatever you want to say, that have gone to these inpatient rehabilitation facilities for mental health, substance use, whatever the case may be. Just like you said with AA. They all have their place. They're all necessary. They're all tools.
100%.
We're not clinicians here. If you need help, go get help. Like, there's so many different great resources out there. That being said, I have seen so many that have gone to these programs and for whatever reason, they didn't get what they needed to get out of it. They came home, relapsed, get into another program. We try all these different programs. I've worked with a lot of veterans where we've just tried to find them the help that they needed, because everybody's different. I think everybody needs different help. There's so many different tools out there. You got to try what's out there, talk to clinicians, talk to subject matter experts, figure that out. But in my opinion, how many of them are looking for what you experienced in 4 days? Granted, there was all the work before and everything like that, understood, but the retreat itself, for you to be able to peel all those layers back, to go back to who 2-year-old Chris was before he went through all of the things that he had to go through, and like tell yourself you love yourself. Holy shit, dude. and like mean it and feel it. Like, oh my God, that is such a beautiful, like the most beautiful thing. Like I'm so happy that you got to have that experience, dude. You deserve that experience. Holy shit, man. Like that is a hell of a story. So like when you're done with that, are they like, well, see you later? Like what do they do after that?
So yeah, that was day 4. Day 5 is your last day. They get breakfast, you had nice big group picture, and at breakfast they give you your rattle from Ibagane night.
Nice.
I got to take home, which is pretty cool. And yeah, and you still are in contact with that group chat you were at ever before you left. And when you come home, you have your 2 integration coaching 1-hour sessions. So she can help, or she or he, my case was a she, so I say she can help you unpack everything and kind of understand and make sense of. And integration is the most important tool that you can do besides going and doing the medicine. Without integration, it's like trying to go scuba diving without any scuba gear.
Right.
You're going to get in the water. You're going to get wet. Yeah, sure. You're going to see some cool stuff, but you're not going to be able to stay down there for very long. Eventually, you're going to run out of air.
Right.
And integration takes your goals and can help you shape them into actual habits that are long lasting. Man, it's been over 60 days since I've had a drop of alcohol. And it's not that I haven't drank, it's that I don't even think about drinking. And I have to be careful because I don't want to sound cocky to anybody who's, I
don't think you sound cocky. I think you are very humble in how you explain everything and very considerate. And like, man. So I don't think that's a concern.
It makes me nervous, I guess, because of you like, I guess where I feel nervous and cocky is the fact that there's zero effort I'm putting in right now to not drinking. I have alcohol in my house. I don't even need to take the alcohol out of my house. I still have a bottle of vodka in my fridge and a bottle of Captain Morgan up in my cupboard, and it can stay there for all I care. It doesn't bother me at all. Alcohol has no purpose in my life right now, and it doesn't. There's no the draw, its grip around my neck is completely gone. When I mean gone, I mean gone. Like, I don't even think of it. There's not even as close. I'm like, maybe I can use one drink tonight. Like, no. Like, it's the fact that I don't want to drink. So going back, Ibagane was the shit and what it was supposed to do. Like, it did everything it was supposed to do. My anxiety is gone. Done. Depression, gone. Over with. Any type of second guessing myself, all that's gone. All of it's, I can't, that's where I'm like, it just is bananas. Like I got to pinch myself because it's gone. All of it, all the noise that was in there before is all gone. Ibagane did everything that I was hoping it would do. Every single thing.
It makes sense that the integration is the most important piece because it's like you just had this profound experience. Seems like one of the most profound experiences a human being can have. And so then when you go back to your environment, your home, your everything else that you had beforehand, like you have to figure out how to take what you learned from that experience and make sure that, I would assume, make sure that you are just very aware of all of that and make the necessary changes, I guess. Would you agree? Like, why do you say the integration is the most important part?
Because without integration, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. That's why when I did that first psilocybin trip, I didn't integrate anything. I went right back and started partying that night and had a good time. But the integration, it helps you to keep those intentions and turn them into revelations.
Yeah.
They become like the new you.
Yeah.
There's a ton of, and even when you come back, they give you even more literature. Ambeo, they do. Dude, they deserve the most insane Yelp review, like of all time.
Yeah. Just tell that entire story that you just told. Yep. Like, I want to read that as a Yelp review. Right. Like, holy shit.
But yeah, integration, man. It's about, my coach, her name's Lindsay. She said, hey, pay attention to things when you come back. You got to pay attention because you may not want food. You're going to have kind of an infant brain, a baby brain. That snow, completely clean. You may not like certain foods. If you notice,
so crazy.
if you notice
awesome.
alcohol doesn't have a place, don't worry about it. Just notice those things and take advantage of them and then integrate them into your life. Try to do things that maybe you didn't do before. If you didn't do yoga, maybe whether it's breathing, relax, for a day, sit on the couch, listen to some music, maybe something very light symphonic music or the music you listen to going through your experience, something kind of like that, just to be at peace, meditate, just use certain things, integrate them into your life. So that way those short-term things become long-term results,
Beautiful. I love that. So other than that, then we are going to be running short on time here. I want to ask how you felt like that experience that you had changed how you think about trauma, spirituality, death, any of those things.
Yeah. So the death thing, Martha and Aaron never came into my journey, but I haven't experienced 1 ounce of sadness since I came back because I don't know if that was the 5-MeO part of the journey, but when I died and I experienced maybe where they're at and this being connected to everything that's out there. Dude, you don't even have it's like you're not even a conscious entity. You don't even have theory in this place. And it's just it's so profoundly beautiful. And death doesn't bother me anymore. Thinking about dying doesn't bother me anymore. Obviously I don't want my kids to die, but it's kind of like if they were to, it's like I think I know where they're going, and it's a pretty magical spot for them to be in. And not that I would want them to ever leave my life, but it's just it gives you kind of a freeing sense of that anxiety that's attached with death. And I don't have that anymore. And I let death, what were the other two?
Trauma, spirituality.
Spirituality is I was agnostic before, and for me personally, because it could mean many things to many different people, I'm just very open to religion. I don't hate on anyone. I don't think that anything's fake. I also don't think that anything is the one truth out there. There could be a lot of truths. I'm not sure, but and that didn't really change. If anything, it just really sank my heels in more to being an agnostic and just knowing that there is a creator out there. Something made something. You don't know what it is. I'm not an atheist, so I do believe in that there's a creator of some kind. It's just, and trauma. Not that that's yet to be, a chapter for another time. I just don't, I don't have any, and I let that suitcase down, and in doing that, it maybe made me understand other people's trauma a little bit more better. And I always thought that I was good at empathy and understanding someone else's pain. But I think that maybe because I was able to free my own trauma, now I may have room in my heart to accept other people's trauma a little bit more and be a little bit more understanding and to really, I just guess be more of myself for them.
Wow. What advice would you have for any other veteran person, anybody who is deeply struggling and thinking about trying this path?
Do it with some reverence. The medicine is pretty sacred. It's really sacred stuff. It's not to be toyed with. It's not a magic pill. There's no such thing as a common experience. But if you're willing to meet the medicine halfway, you're willing to walk towards the fire and possibly address ugliest parts of who you are. And if you're willing to let go of things that weren't yours to hold on to begin with, the shame of my dad and my mom's life that started long before I was ever born, what they went through as children, and what their parents went through as children, that 7 generations thing. It's just like that wasn't my pain to hold on to. And there's hope. That's the biggest thing I could say is that there's always hope. And $7,000 is a lot of money. But man, you're worth it. Whoever you are, you're worth it 100%. And what's the price of not doing it? That outweighs any amount of money that you could put on something like that. And go into it with some reserve and respect, curiosity, open-mindedness. Not every quick fix comes in a Band-Aid box.
Right.
There's all sorts of forms of medicine out there. So just be very open-minded. Some of it may look hoity-toity, hippie, but the more open you are to the medicine, again, it's going to meet you halfway. So I would just say to anyone that's really wanting to or considering it, and they're already stepping in the right direction if they're already thinking about considering it.
I also think one of your biggest strengths going into this was the amount of preparation that you did, because we talked about it here, but when you and I were talking in my garage, we talked for hours, and you shared so much, and really went into, I think, all of the preparation that you did. Cause like you'd mentioned it during this podcast, but like you really did your homework so you knew what to expect, so you were ready for it. And like, I feel like, man, that had to have been such a crucial part of the experience, was the amount of prep that you did for it. When you get there, all of the paperwork that they give you, everything, the reading materials, and doing that homework throughout the whole process. Like, I have to imagine that was instrumental in that entire thing too. You'd mentioned obviously Ambeo Life, and that website is ambeo.life. There's also some other organizations that do some similar things. You'd mentioned Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions, another phenomenal organization. Some other ones I found: Heroic Hearts Project, Balanced Veterans Network. I know Balanced Veterans Network a bit. They were the organization that assisted in sending me to DC to advocate for veterans' rights, to try to reclassify MDMA so that the VA would be able to do studies on it, publish studies on it.
Right on.
So that was through Balanced Veterans Network. That was a phenomenal experience. Thank You Life is an Ibagane related nonprofit. Fireside Project is a psychedelic peer support line. Maps.org. So many things that are out there. But it's really cool to watch this type of therapeutic intervention evolve. You weren't the first veteran that shared their experience with me that went to a retreat like that. Every veteran that shared their experience with me, and I'd mentioned this to you before, and I think I've said it on the podcast before, but Force Recon Marine that I'd been with the Department of Defense contracting, phenomenal guy, respect him very much, very well respected guy, amazing guy, but he went on a retreat, and when he told me about his experience, his reaction to telling me about his experience was he was overcome with emotion. He cried in front of me as he told me this story. The hairs on his arms stood up as he was telling me about it. And he told me, and I'm giving you the most condensed version possible of his story. He had a very well thought out, amazing experience. But a part of what he told me was that he saw everybody that he'd ever lost be born and grow into the people that he knew. And he was able to have a final conversation with them. And then they died again. And when he told me that, that's when the hairs stood up. And that's when he started crying. And so I'm sitting here listening to this man who was, again, Force Recon, best of the best of the best, have that type of experience. Are you going to tell me that that wasn't fucking therapeutic for that guy? What are you going to say? Like, that changed his life. I talked to him to this day. He's still doing exceptionally well from that experience years ago. Like, it's worth looking into a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, we should be looking into this shit.
Right.
Maybe, as we're throwing all this other money into all of these other potential options and tools and things that are out there. We're seeing this working for also, and it's being tested really in like the special operations community. Like, that's the community that's taking this and running with this. So these are like, again, the best of the best of the best. They're the ones that are dipping their toe into that pond. You know what I mean? Like, kind of really makes you have to take it a little bit more serious than we're taking it, I think.
Right.
And dude, America has noticed May 25th, 2025, Texas became the first state in the United States. They granted the bill passed, bipartisan bill, House and Senate, granted $50 million for clinical research for Ibogaine for veterans.
Step by step, man.
$50 million for clinical research.
Lifetime.
Dude, that's awesome. Texas too, man, which is great.
I can't thank you enough for coming on here.
Absolutely.
Dude,
and sharing all of that.
It's humbling. It's also therapeutic, to be able to talk about it with you guys. And every time I go into the story, man, it takes me back to where I was. And it's just, I get to feel those feelings and I see him again, my younger self, and, the forgiveness and all that. So thank you for giving me this space and allowing me to share that and hopes, in all humility that maybe somebody out there can hopefully make the right decision and, try to get help if they're struggling at all with mental health. And psychedelics are a pretty powerful thing if you do them the right way.
Yeah, very good. This episode has to help us move up the chain as far as like being the 172nd best mental health podcast.
Absolutely.
Because usually we just tell a lot of dumb jokes.
Dude, that was
what I mean?
Incredible story. Thank you so much.
How did you feel hearing that the first time?
I lost for words.
Yeah.
That's dude, what amazing.
That's
absolutely.
It's hard to have a reaction to hear. It's hard to have a reaction to hearing this stuff because, like, you're hearing these amazing, insanely profound things, and you're like sitting there trying to wrap your mind around that experience, and then he's moving on to the next insanely profound experience, and you're just like, holy shit!
Oh wow! I want to go experience this.
Absolutely,
that's unbelievable.
Brad, do you have anything else you would like to say or share?
No, man. No, absolutely not.
Dude, Chris, thank you again, man. I love you. I am so glad you're here. I am so glad that you had that experience, and I'm so glad that you came out here to share it with us, man. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Eric, for doing what you guys do, man. I know it's always a ping pong of who can outthink the other person.
It's a Midwestern nice off. I love to see it. Let's see who's nicer.
Truly, man, you guys definitely, you're the Everest.
I was just gonna say I'm just a pretty face, but I'll take Everest.
What I mean
we're the
is,
crater hole that killed all the dinosaurs. We're that one, maybe.
What I mean is, let's just say only 10 people listen to this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Only 10. I have no idea. But it's probably going to be the right 10.
Yeah.
That listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And those 10 people wouldn't have been able to hear one person's journey, my journey that I went through trauma, plant medicine, and healing and peace. If it wasn't for you guys, that's why I said you're the Everest, because you guys are the ones that are holding space for people to come and talk to you. Not just me, but people that have, I'm fine with the numerous amount of things that you guys have hosted on the I'm Fine. So, I mean, definitely kudos, hats off to you guys for being that, that voice,
Thank you, man. That means a lot. Whenever we get anybody at all that gets anything from anything, any episode that we've ever done, every single comment means so much. Every nice thing, everybody's anybody's ever told us.
Even the not nice things feel kind of good.
Dude, everything feels good. I've had
Like,
somebody
you
tell
watch
me
things, man.
that I turn on your podcast before I go to bed because it helps me go to sleep. And I'm like, I get it. I totally get it. I kind of got that voice. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't bother me
You
at
totally
all.
got that voice.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
He knows he has a voice.
I'm good with that. But it means the world to me. So thank you again for being on here and sharing your story, man.
My pleasure,
thank
man.
you
My
enough.
pleasure. Thank you.
And so that wraps up this 2-part episode, the I'm Fine podcast. So I hope you really enjoyed Chris's story. If you have questions, if you want to know more, please reach out to us. You can find us at the I'm Fine podcast Facebook page. You can go to projectheadspaceandtime.org, send us an email. Either way, let us know what you think. Let us know if you have questions. Let us know if you want to learn more or if you want to add your own experience. We'd love to hear it. Thank you for listening, and thank you for tuning in. And we hope that we helped you go from being freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional to truly being fine, fighting demons with DMT.